Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Meal on MMA podcast, UFC Vancouver time, aka RDR, Reiner de Ritter versus Brendan Allen. And okay. First, I want to deal with like a little bit of news off the top here. MMA adjacent news, because technically it's bare knuckle boxing news. There's a lot of talk right now about Frankie Edgar's bare knuckle boxing fight for BKFC falling apart. And here's the thing. Do I have any interest in Frankie Edgar bare knuckle boxing? No. None whatsoever. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Not a big fan of bare knuckle boxing to begin with. Not a fan of Frankie Edgar taking more head drop. He is on the older end of combat sports. He has had a couple of knockouts in a row on his way out of the UFC. He should not be fighting in this venue. So in terms of the result, i.e. him not fighting, I am fine with it. I would actually even go as far to say is I prefer it that way. But there is a weird sentiment online. There's one side, the side I'm on, that is basically like BKFC has engaged in shady business practices here by yanking him off the card, defrauding fans to a certain degree, and defrauding Frankie Edgar because he was due a massive payday had he actually fought, I think it was Jimmy Rivera, who he was slated to fight. And then there's the other side, which is like, no. They're saving Frankie from himself. Number one, they are not. Because somebody else will book Frankie. Let's be real here. No promotion can save Frankie from Frankie's self at this point. That's not on the table. There's no option there. If he wants to fight, or needs to fight, there's going to be someone who's going to pay that bill. Number two, nothing about the situation changed. They knew Frankie was old. They knew Frankie was beat up. They knew Frankie should not be fighting. Nothing changed. It's not like they did a brain scan of him and found some horrific, you're gonna die, aneurysm, cancer, growth, whatever. In their own press statements, have revealed nothing new. They have expressed that doctors had concerns about Frankie Edgar fighting because of his age and because of the wear and tear on his body. Again, we knew that in the UFC. We knew that beforehand. So this whole situation is something they created. I basically put it this way. It's like giving a toddler a gun. And then you take the gun away before the toddler can hurt themselves. They don't kill themselves. They don't shoot the gun. Take it away. And you want to be the hero for taking the gun away. You gave him the gun. You gave Frankie Edgar the contract to fight again. You don't then get to be the hero of this story. And somehow there are fans out there buying it. And there are like serious journalists carrying water, or at least as close as we get into combat sports outside of boxing in terms of serious journalism, actually carrying water for this. And it befuddles me. Again, I don't want to see Frankie Edgar fight in bare knuckle. That does not make what they did right. Even though they reached the same end conclusion, does not make them right. They created the situation by booking him. They created the situation by promoting the fight and then pulled the rug out from under it. It's shady as all heck. And speaking of shady, the commission that handled UFC Rio and the Lucas Almeida obviously broken hand are just their response to this is, well, you see, he passed a doctor's inspection. That's the problem. The doctor's inspection missed a swollen hand. This is not a small bit of staph. This is not even like Magomed Ankalaev fighting with a broken rib. This was visible at the weigh-ins, people. Jesus. There's like it's like saying, yes, we followed the policy and we followed our procedure and this happened. Are you going to change the policy or the procedure? No. So, to recap, it's going to happen again. Great. Fantastic. Again, I've said this. Fighters fighting with minor injuries, not a problem. It's going to happen. It's unavoidable. Very few of these guys get to fight night 100%. I'm not asking for 100%. I am asking for us to stop having the periodic occurrences every couple of months of somebody fighting with an obvious debilitating injury that takes them down below, I don't know what percentage to put on it, but like Lucas Almeida probably fought at maybe 60% with a broken hand. Magomed Ankalaev fought at maybe 75%. To be clear, I think Magomed Ankalaev, healthy rib or no rib, is gets his crap pushed in by Pereira. That was just the nature of the fight. I'm just saying that is the problem. Anyways, and for this card, I'm going to do something weird. I'm going to do something weird and wacky. And I'm going to pick a fight from the undercard to talk about first because it fascinates me. It's not a card. It's not a fight that would catch your eye just going down the card. And it didn't when I was running down the card at the end of the last podcast. But you sit down and you watch and you learn and you think about it and you realize this is a dope fight. So I'm going to start with it over the main event and so on because the main event, don't get me wrong, the main event I'm looking forward to. I'm excited about it. From a breakdown standpoint, both the main event and the co-main event are kind of an exercise in utter frustration. So forgive me for wanting to put that off. Anyways, the quick usual deal here. Betting on MMA fights. Let's go. I'm going to be talking about betting on MMA fights because it's something that I do. And I'm going to be talking about betting odds. I'm going to be talking about things you could even use for your own betting. However, this is a chaotic, unpredictable sport. Keep it fun. Keep it relaxed. Keep it safe. If you don't have money to bet, don't do it. If you, and for the love of God, do not be one of these people on social media going, I lost 5-6 figures on a fight. You should never be betting that unless you are stinking rich, I guess. And in which case, I don't care that you lost money. So either way, don't be that guy. Okay, so the fight in question is Charles Jourdain versus Davey Grant. And what makes this fight so interesting to me is the fact that I have no idea how it's going to shape up. There is obviously a slight problem here that has to be talked about. Davey Grant is 39 years old. That is old at bantamweight. That is old anywhere but heavyweight, basically. And there is the chance that this is just the fight where magic strikes and Father Time gets their due with the snap of the fingers. Keep that in mind. However, he has looked good. The chin is still, holding up. The injuries seem to be at least relatively injury-free. And everything's kind of still functioning. I'm not going to say he's the exact same guy he was at like 32, but it's not far off. What leads to victory is still, in fact, there. The interesting fact of this fight is that these are both kind of weird fighters in the sense that they don't feel like other fighters. Charles Jourdain is a somewhat underwhelming athlete who spent most of his career fighting way bigger dudes. And as a result, he has developed this actually like pretty cool mid-range boxing game with aggressive grappling and willing and at times very functional wrestling. And a ability to take risks without like completely exposing himself. And the guys who have historically beat him are guys who physically lock him out of a fight and just don't let him get rolling. Sean Woodson is a great example of this, just being like really, really tall and able to just like hit him from too far away that Jourdain is having to, just to get the offense going at all, he's making big risks. And then and then the other side of the thing is just like highly dangerous fight finishers like John Silva and Julian Erosa. Silva because of his just raw physicality and his ability to bully. Erosa because Erosa, for all of his faults, and there are many, is an incredibly opportunistic, dynamic finisher that did to Charles Jourdain what he does to a lot of people. And Grant is not either of those things. He doesn't have Silva's physicality. He doesn't have the frame of a Sean Woodson, and he's not the dynamic finisher that is Erosa. He's 5'8", 69 inches. He's theoretically actually going to be the lesser ranged fighter because Jourdain is 5'9", 69 inches. So they have the same reach. Jourdain's an inch taller. So that should translate to probably a non-functional, but like technical range advantage, particularly likely on kicks. So it's not really in play there. But Grant still is this really awkward dude who, despite the fact that his defense is not textbook sound by any way, shape, or form, he's not a textbook fighter. A textbook fighter with his physical tools would not be here still. So that makes sense. But functional defense, toughness, durability, and the ability to not give up super, super big moments, which Jourdain tends to need to thrive on. Now, we don't know if Jourdain still needs that at like 135, because at 135, he's not the smaller guy that he was at 145. And as a result, there is still a lot of like kind of questions on that. And the only 135 fight he had was beating Victor Henry in the second round of their bout in a fight that he looked very, very good in. He was outpacing Henry and was still, surprisingly was taken down 4 times. There was very little luck on that and eventually ended up being a submission victory. So I'm not suggesting Grant spam takedowns or anything, but it did suggest that there were still some elements of what was going wrong at featherweight is still there at bantamweight. That it's not purely size, it's also how Jourdain fights, which is not surprising because he fights like an insane madman. But even that being said, Grant still feels like an interesting fight for him and a weird one. And then on the other side, Grant, of course, tends to lose by decision. He got finished a couple times early in his UFC run. Damian Stasiak submitted him, as well as Manny Bermudez. There we go. And that's not how Jourdain wins. Jourdain's decision wins are an Andre Ewell fight where he highlighted Ewell's general lack of kind of scrappiness if you manage to take away the range game from him, and also Ewell's problems with wrestling. And then Kron Gracie, who I could make an entire podcast episode out of the deficiencies of Kron. The development, the rise and the fall of Kron Gracie is both sad and fascinating. So Grant's not either of those things. Grant's hard to finish, hasn't been finished in some time. It's been 7 years since that Manny Bermudez finish. And that's kind of why I have to go with Grant here. Don't get me wrong, like there's a chance that Jourdain is just way like for maybe the first time in his career is just that physically above a 39-year-old Davey Grant. He just takes it to him. But realistically speaking, it's just I don't trust Jourdain to win a decision against Davey Grant. So if he doesn't finish him, and I'm not picking him to finish him, I have to go with Grant. Grant is the underdog, for the record, at a respectable plus 138 to plus 145, minus 170, minus 178 on Jourdain. I would say those are perfectly acceptable odds. Like, this is a fight where, honestly, anywhere from about minus 200 to about plus 200 is like probably absolutely fine for either of these guys. It's going to be a weird fight. It's going to be an interesting fight. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to these two veterans actually going out there and being weird together, essentially, because they're both oddities as fighters, and I do love them for it. Moving back to the top of the card, we have a main event of Reinier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. This was supposed to be Reinier de Ridder versus Fluffy Hernandez, which was a fight that I was very much tempted to take Fluffy in, like nervously, because I don't trust de Ridder's gas tank, essentially. But at the same time, it would involve Fluffy going into the jaws of the monster repetitively to get the job done. But he survived the monster against Adolfo Vieira, so like I was picking him to do that. Now, against Brendan Allen, I've got a more complex fight because I'm less certain how this fight is going to go. And the reason, and on top of that, there's the obvious weird thing of like Reinier de Ridder himself. Let me be nice to de Ridder, and then I'm going to rip him apart, though. On one hand, he has overachieved what I expected from him. He has clear power, which I didn't I didn't really think coming off the one circuit. I didn't really think he hit hard. But it is very clear to me that he successfully hurt guys who are durable guys. So he's got a little bit of power. He's got that ability. He's got the ability to be a difference maker with that. He's a good clinch fighter, both as a grappler and a striker. He is obviously a very, very, very good grappler on the ground. And he's huge. 6'4", 78-inch reach. He is going to be taller and longer than virtually everyone he fights at middleweight. And middleweight is a place where someone with his disjointed, non-mainstream style of MMA can find success because the history of this division is littered with guys like this. On the dark side is that disjointed style. It leaves a lot of openings. This guy is defensively very, very questionable on the feet. Not on the ground, but on the feet. And he also has a questionable cardio situation. So, questionable gas tank, questionable defense on the feet, questionable offense on the feet, to be honest, at range. His striking is very much only a clinch game. And otherwise, it's just, I'm tall, I'm long, and this officially works. And step-in knees. He's very, very good at the step-in knee to the body. But that's kind of it. And it's like, that shouldn't work. I can come up with a game plan for a fighter like Brendan Allen, who is by no means perfect, but is far more closer to the textbook fighter than that. Brendan Allen has good cardio. Brendan Allen has not fluid, not textbook good, not snappy striking, but functional enough. He's also himself a highly skilled grappler. He's tangled with some of the absolute best grapplers in this division for a number of times and has no sub losses. He went the distance with my boy Fluffy Hernandez. He went the distance with Nasruddin Imavov. He went the distance with he beat Paul Craig and Andre Muniz by submission, which is pretty impressive. He also, really had an ugly fight with Jacob Malkoum, but showed some good things. He embarrassed Krzysztof Yatko. He submitted Kevin Holland, which doesn't mean as much as it should. We'll get to Kevin Holland in a second. But the only guys that have beaten him in his entire career are Trevin Giles, very, very early on. I would pick him to win that in a rematch. Eric Anders, who is a physical beast and just kind of a tank. Anthony Hernandez, twice. Sean Strickland, and Chris Curtis, and Imavov. And it's DeRitter can't really do what any of those guys did to beat him. So I'm left in a weird spot here. But I don't trust Allen not to play into DeRitter's skill set inevitably. Because the only people he's ever really tried to be at range with are guys who obviously can't compete there because they're much shorter than him. It's like Chris Curtis, who's 5'10". That's about the tallest guy that he's kind of done that with. Everyone else, he inevitably finds his way into the pocket, and he inevitably finds himself close enough that DeRitter theoretically can clinch with him and bring him down. And while Allen is again, perfectly serviceable grappler and wrestler, he's not great as a wrestler, which suggests that DeRitter can get on top of him. This is a guy who did kind of make Marvin Vittoria look like a guy who still has something in the tank, and I could be wrong, but I don't think he does. So, if I'm giving that DeRitter's going to have the big moments because he hurts people, and Allen doesn't really, and if I give DeRitter the clinch wrestling advantage, which I do have to go with them. The thing is, though, is that Allen is very durable, and it's how does DeRitter finish him? Because I don't trust DeRitter for 5 rounds. I don't have that in me. So that's a problem. I'm going to go with a TKO or a club and sub for DeRitter. Just at some point, the fact that he does have a knack for hurting people will hurt Allen. Allen himself has not the greatest shit. He's a tough guy. But he's not invincible, not indestructible. And himself, I ragged on DeRitter's defensive striking. Allen is not a good defensive striker either. He's better, but he is not good. He is himself very, very hittable. And it kind of feels like this will be something similar to the GM3 fight. where there are moments where Allen absolutely is finding the path to victory and finding the tools, but that it's DeRitter that will have the big moments hurt him and finish him. That's my pick. It's an interesting fight. It's an interesting fight, even if it's like frustrating from a analytical standpoint. Betting odds, minus 200 to minus 225 on DeRitter. I didn't write down the odds for... Hang on, I still got the website up. Provide me with the odds on Allen. Plus 160 to plus 180. Makes sense. Closer than I thought, actually, just because of the late notice replacement variance on this fight. And the fact that I think like the betting public is really high on DeRitter right now. And I get it. Dude is coming off wins over Robert Whittaker, Bo Nickel, Kevin Holland, GM3, 4-0 in the UFC, beat the former champion Whittaker, beat the hotness Bo Nickel, beat the guy that people like, Kevin Holland, and then like the GM3 fight is kind of a gimme. But ironically, probably the hardest one was GM3. So, and that's the one that is the most like Allen. I think at the end of this, I just feel bad that Fluffy Hernandez doesn't get this fight. Co-main event, we have got Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. And my overarching advice is do not bet on Kevin Holland fights, because Kevin Holland is a fighter that is maybe the most confusing on the roster. He has all the physical tools you could want. He's a 6'3" welterweight with athletic ability. He's fast. He has power. He is strong. He is everything you could want. He is the perfect piece of marble. And somehow has some of the most uninspired, dumbest performances on the planet. This is a guy who is coming off a loss to Daniel Rodriguez. There is no reason he should be losing to Daniel Rodriguez. Literally none. What does Daniel Rodriguez do, and what athletic ability does he have that is greater than Kevin Holland's? Should not be losing that fight. And then before that, good win over Vicente Luque. And pretty much an overpowering of Gunnar Nelson. That was a little bit surprising in that how dominant he was. But it's also, losing to Ryder DeRitter, it's losing to Roman Dolidze, it's losing to Michael Venom Page, it's losing to Jack Della Maddalena, which is fine. See Wonderboy Thompson in 2022 in a fight that he fought incredibly dumb. It's just... you just don't really know. You just don't really know what's going to show up here. And Mike Malott is a dangerous submission guy, and Kevin Holland does tend to give his neck to people. So, is there a version of this fight where Holland just overmatches Malott and finishes him really cool, or even has like a dominant performance like he did against Gunnar Nelson? Yeah, there's no hard stop against either of those things happening. Absolutely none. Mike Malott is not some amazing athlete. He's a perfectly solid athlete. He fights pretty well. Most of the time he did fall into the Neil Magny trap, but otherwise it's been a good UFC run. He's got some pop in his hands. He's got some toughness. He's got wrestling. He's got a choke game. He is Team Alpha Male, and even though he's not in a weight class that historically Team Alpha Male has had success in, I've always said this, if you're lightweight or above, don't go to Team Alpha Male. They are not the recipe for success. Their recipe requires, I think, the bantamweight, the flyweight, and the featherweight metagame that just does not exist higher up. But he implements it, reasonably well. He's a solid wrestler, solid neck attack guy, and Kevin Holland gives up his neck. I'm gonna go with Malott by submission. I'm ready to be wrong. I'm ready for Kevin Holland to absolutely dunk on him. Like there's nothing stopping it. There is nothing stopping Kevin Holland from beating just about anyone in this division. Literally. He has a nip-tuck loss to the champion. But goddamn do I not want to pick it. Anyways, betting odds, it's about an even money fight. It is minus 102 to minus 110 on Holland, minus 110 to minus 125 on Malott. Again, just don't bet on it. Don't bet on it. Just enjoy this fight for what it is, which is, well, it could be a lot of different things. But a betting one, it is not. Rolling on down the card, we get to Aiemann Zahabi versus Marlon Chito Vera. And this is not going to be a new pick for me. Marlon Vera is a fighter that has bad footwork, no real ability to make engagements happen on his terms, and is a bad fighter with physical tools. What I mean by that is that he is immortal. He is incredibly hard to kill. And on top of that, he is really powerful. He has the power of bonk, which I'm going with ever since somebody joined the Discord server and had the Bonk Man for the nickname for their fighter. I'm pretty sure I've used Bonk before, but he has the power of Bonk. He has the power. He has the death touch. And he also has great cardio. Phenomenal cardio. But it feels like anybody in the welterweight or in the bantamweight division should be able to, at least for 3 rounds, be able to play the outside game, play footwork, out-volume him, take the win. And Aiemann Zahabi is suited to do that. He has good footwork. He's responsible defensively. He's got a good work rate in his own right. Not a lot of power, not a great deal, but a guy who can be safe and work the game and just do the things that Vera loses to. Are the odds close? They should be. Vera is, like I said, he has the death touch, but it is minus 125 to minus 138 on Zahabi. It is Vera at plus 105 to plus 110. Hang on, do I have that backwards? Because I was looking at the odds and I'm entirely certain I had Zahabi as the favorite. Yeah, I've got these backwards. I said it right, but I've got them backwards in my notes here. Let me just quickly fix that. But yeah, we do have a Zahabi favorite. It's almost certainly going to go the distance if he does win. It's almost certainly going to be a finish if Vera wins. But yeah, it's a 2 true outcome fight. Will I be shocked if Vera wins? Nope, not at all. Not at all. But dude is very flawed. And it makes watching film on him kind of painful. It's gonna be it's fun and it's never over, and you feel like there's a chance of that bonk at any time. Outside of the Sean O'Malley fight where O'Malley really kind of worked him, I've enjoyed Vera's fights. It's just that they're tactically and technically they leave a lot to be desired. There is clearly a guy who works his cardio a lot, has the natural power and durability to be a great fighter, and has good low kicks. Didn't bring that up. But I don't think that wins this fight. And he is also getting older. What is he now? 30. Is he really only 32? Why do I feel like he's old? Yeah, he's only 32. Okay, never mind. I was going to have a think about the age thing. Zahabi's also 37. So it wasn't going to be the age difference, but I don't know. I didn't think he was just 32. Anyways, catching me off guard with that. But yeah, I do. I have to go with Zahabi. I'm probably not going to bet on it. Well, maybe. The odds are really close. But it's not the annoying of picking of the Holland fight, but it is a 2 true outcome fight. It is, there is a certain level of playing with fire when you know that the one guy has an absolute nuclear missile in his hand and is unkillable at the same time. And then we have Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasudavicius at women's flyweight. I'm surprised at the odds here. The odds are minus 225 to minus 265 on Fiorot. One of the bigger favorites on the card. I haven't written down everyone's odds yet. I've been doing a new thing where I record a fight and then I go back. We'll see it. We'll see if I like it. Anyways, so I haven't written down all the odds. But I do have the best fights odds site here. Who is a bigger favorite than Manon Fiorot on this card? Danny Barlow Not sure I agree with that. Drew Dober. Stephanie Lucia. I'm a little surprised by that. Azamet Bakoyev. All right, so there's a couple. There's a couple bigger, and I kind of disagree. I think that she should probably be the biggest here. I like Jasmine Jasudavicius. Big fan. I enjoy what she brings to the table. She is a clinch wrestler who has done quite well. She works at a high pace on the ground. She is quite possibly the most fearsome ground and pounder actually in the division because she throws so much. Like, she actually weaponizes ground and pound, which is kind of rare for this division. So kudos. But do not let the Manon Fiorot loss to Valentina Shevchenko fool you. She is a monster. She's not a finishing monster. She's not even a particularly exciting monster. She's not even a particularly violent monster. But she is a monster. She is super strong in the clinch. She has a meat and potatoes striking game that she works at a high pace. And I don't like. I could picture how Jasmine wins this fight. They clinch up and Jasmine's actually stronger than I'm thinking she's going to be. But like, the difference between Manon Fiorot and the strongest clinch wrestlers that Jasmine has dealt with, which would be like Miranda Maverick and 2025 Jessica Andrade, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I can't help but think that these odds are only close because Fiorot is coming off that big loss to Shevchenko. But yeah. Which, I mean, it was a failure of her game, don't get me wrong, and a failure of her fight IQ. But it was also, it's also just points to like a central physical failure, like central point of physical failure for her that I don't think many people can actually take advantage of, is the problem. Like, I saw all the flaws in the game beforehand. It's just, it still takes someone who either has a really good outside range management game or is just a monster to actually beat her. And Jasmine's not the former, and I don't think she's the latter. So could Jasmine come out there and just big sister her? I guess it's on the table. I guess it is a possibility, but I do doubt it. So Manon Fiorot by decision is the pick, and we move on to the next fight. We have Cody Gibson versus Arichi Lang, and I really want to pick Arichi Lang here, but I cannot bring myself to do it. The problem with Arichi Lang is that everybody who tries to wrestle him does wrestle him with success. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Raul Rosas Jr., it doesn't matter if we're talking about Johnny Munoz. In a loss, granted, because Johnny Munoz is not UFC material, but great deal of success early on in the fight with wrestling. And it doesn't matter if it's Jay Perrin, who also lost, to be clear, but had a lot of top control over the course of that fight as well. If you're going to give Cody Gibson that kind of top control, I have to pick him. Cody Gibson is a good scrambler and a hard-nosed wrestler, and he's also very uncomfortable to strike with because he's 5'10" or 5'11", 5'10", 5'10" at bantamweight, and it's very, very hard. And we've seen Cody Gibson come up short a lot, obviously. He is the guy who got knocked out in a bar fight after saying, "Google me." But his losses are to Damon Blackshear, who's just a much better athlete than what you're dealing with in Arichi Lang. Miles Johns, who is a much better athlete than what you're dealing with in Arichi Lang, and a much better anti-wrestler, to be clear. Brad Katona, who's a much better anti-wrestler and weaponizes, he kind of is just a better version of what Arichi Lang is, but like also with like way less power. And then you have to go back a ways to like Manny Gambirian and Douglas De Silva de Andrade. He's 2-3 in this current run in the UFC. It's not been great, but like, and I will say that Arichi Lang is a tougher challenge than Chad Anheliger or Brian Kelleher are, at least the 2024 version of Brian Kelleher. But man, it's hard to say. Like, he's a volume striker who does have moments of very cool knockout ability and like clean counter knockouts. That the knockout he has over Cameron Eltz, for example, was like really, really cool. But he's not an amazing knockout artist. He's not an amazing striker, and he's a guy who, like I said, his takedown defense is more rooted in trying to out-scramble people than it is in stopping takedowns or stopping entries for takedowns or making it hard to get him to the ground. It's and that's it's a problem. He's not an instant takedown. He stopped 7 takedowns from Johnny Munoz, 4 takedowns from Raul Rosas Jr. He stopped how many? He stopped 4 from Jay Perrin. He stopped half of Cody Durden's takedowns. Durden went 5 for 10. But yeah, it's just like the Durden fight is the one that I guess you would kind of want to say is the example of beating someone, because like Durden does have some similarities with Cody Gibson, but like way smaller package. Durden fights at 125. Gibson fights at 135 and is massive at 135. So, and he did lose to. He also lost to Durden. I was reading that wrong. He lost to Durden. So, yeah, I don't know. Richie Lang's game is just like really, really centered around the idea that he can counter wrestle or out scramble people, and I've got to go with Gibson by decision. He's the favorite, minus 163 to minus 185. And Arichi Lang's plus 130 to plus 150. Makes sense. Arichi Lang is the one that probably it would be better if he would win, because there's more, I think, in the future to get out of him. But yeah, I can't pick it. Gibson is yeah, no, you have to deny the scramble game with Gibson if you're gonna win. And Arichi Lang do not do that. That's not on the market from him, really. So I'm getting kind of down, I guess, on this one. But hey, we got Matt Frevola up next against Kyle Nelson, so that'll cheer me right up. Until I remember that Kyle Nelson always has weird stuff to say in the post-fight. But fun fight. This is another straightforward fight where either guy could win, but like it's very straightforward to the dynamic. It's Frevola versus Nelson. They're both guys who who generally win by being the harder hitter. They are get got guys. They have questionable defense, questionable chins, and they hit really hard. And it's probably not a coin flip. I'm favoring Frevola, who is the betting favorite at minus 115 to minus 128, and plus 100 to minus 105 on Nelson. I'm favoring him. I don't know. I just think it's been, his level of wins have been a slightly higher caliber. They're not especially convincing, but he has knocked out Drew Dober. He has knocked out Otman Azaitar, who is dangerous, if nothing else. Luis Pena, Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner is the biggest win either of these guys have by a significant margin. And I guess what it is that the losses of Frevola has are just like way more understandable. It's a late stoppage to Faris Siam, first round stoppages to Terrence McKinney, which is there another way he wins, and Benoit Saint-Denis, and a decision loss to Armin Saryukin. You got to go back to that Polo Reyes fight in 2018 to find kind of a inexplicable KO loss for him. Whereas for Nelson, it's like Steve Garcia, who, try as I might, I cannot convince myself is good. But also like a very, very sudden knockout loss to Billy Quarantillo and a ground and pound loss to Carlos Diego Ferreira. And yeah, his best win is like Bill Algeo, who looked kind of just done. And of course, like Frevola kind of does look a little bit done, so there is that. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I got to go with Frevola. If this gets into a wrestling exchange, he's probably the better guy there as well. Nelson and him both will utilize wrestling as a safety net, and that should probably go to him. Like, I think he's on paper, he's got the higher wrestling pedigree and grappling pedigree. So yeah, I'll go with Frevola, but like I'm not gonna be surprised if Nelson knocks him out. It's on the table. Somebody is most likely going to sleep. So Frevola by TKO is my pick. And if Nelson wins, get ready for some bizarre weirdness man's rights thing afterwards. I don't say that because I'm... again, I've said this. Do not get your politics from MMA fighters. Don't do that to yourself. It's just there's been like 2 or 3 like kind of just weird, where are you going with this moments from Nelson post fight. So I kind of have a morbid curiosity about it. But I'll pick Frivola, one of the few UFC fighters who follows me on Twitter. So let's go. Next up, we have my hot pick, which is the Bruno Silva versus Hong Sung Park fight. I understand that Park is on a good run in the UFC. I get it. He's gone 2-1. He has violent finishes over Shannon Ross, and the Carlos Hernandez fight actually did impress me. Very few people have gone out there and just like said, you know what, Carlos, you're a subpar athlete, and I am just going to crush you. Very few people actually do that. So I admit that the guy's got something. He's fairly well-rounded. He seems to grapple pretty competently, has a bunch of rear naked choke victories, hits hard. And I don't say that because of the knockouts, because honestly, he hasn't knocked out anyone worth a damn. Shannon Ross is a complete glass cannon. Had no business being in the UFC. But there's a clear fluidity and like power transfer in his punches. Like there's good mechanics there. And I honestly couldn't tell you what it is that I feel is missing. It's just, I went back and I watched his fights with Hernandez. I watched his fights on the road to UFC. I watched his fight with Ross for what it was worth. And I can't shake that there's something not there. Something, for lack of a better term, we'll go with primal. For like the aspect that when he's presented with somebody he can't just instantly bully, that something's gonna break. And it's not that he lost to Tetsuya Taira. Taira is a very good fighter. Very good. But it just feels like there's something there. And like, Bruno Silva is not the best athlete in the division. He's not the best fighter in any respect. And he is on a 2-fight losing skid. But Bruno Silva is violent. He's creative. He hits you on the counter. He makes chaos happen. And everything about Park's game has so far been about limiting the chaos. And it could also be the fact that I looked at the odds and saw that Park is a minus 220 to minus 265 favorite. And plus 180 to plus 200 is the comeback on Bruno Silva. And that's kind of ridiculous. It should not be that wide. Like, he's a bigger favorite than Cody Gibson against Arichi Lang. He's a bigger favorite than... he is a similar favorite to Manon Fiorot against Jasmine Jasudavicius. That to me is a little bit wild. Real talk. And I'm going to take the gamble on Bruno Silva. There is some questions about his own durability. There's questions about his grappling at times. And stuff could happen. But he brings a fun fight. He brings violence. And I guess at the end of the day, what I'm hoping for here is that I learned something about Park. I learned something deeper about whether this feeling I have and cannot shake has any validity to it. Probably doesn't. And I would like to make it clear, I don't know if you should take my advice on this one. But I'm taking a flyer on the underdog here, Bruno Silva by TKO. That's just all there is to it. There's something about Park I don't trust. Something that doesn't quite click in my brain. I see the good technique. I see the fluidity. I see the potential for stoppages. And part of me just goes, yeah, but against a real UFC fighter. And not Carlos Hernandez, who's at the very, very bottom of what I would accept for this flyweight division. And Shannon Ross, who, again, I don't know why he ever got signed. It carried him. But there's something about it. You don't have to take my word for it. By all means, take Park. But I'm taking Silva. Moving on down the card, we have a middleweight debut for Danny Barlow. At least I think this is his middleweight debut. It could be. I suppose I could be wrong. It should actually, go and look through that. It's definitely his UFC middleweight debut after losing to Sam Patterson. And the weight cut is definitely something that had to be fairly insane for him. Like, he's a big dude. 185. Looking for 185, baby. Oh, there's a catchweight fight. 2 catchweight fights, but no middleweight fights. So he's been at welterweight the whole time. So yeah, this will be a debut for him. Long term, I think it's probably fine, but at the same time, I do think that a lot of Barlow's success at welterweight was pure physicality. He's 6'2" with a 79-inch reach. He is massive. He is powerful. He is strong. He is fast. He is explosive. And I do wonder how much it's going to translate to fighting just bigger dudes, because that being said, he probably fought a proper middleweight in Nikolai Veretennikov, but like even that was a split decision. So case and point that when he was faced with somebody who could match him for size, it was not only a very close fight, but a very crappy fight. Which makes me wonder about the odds here, because they've got him at a minus 300 to minus 340 favorite, and they've got Santos at plus 240 to plus 250. I'm still going to pick Barlow. There's a great deal of potential in him, and unfortunately, I think at 30 years old, I don't know if we're ever going to really see it. Like, he has all the physical skills you would need, but like the technique is very thin. The decision-making, the adaptation, and the scrap factor, the volume and the willingness to exchange, these are all a little bit of a question mark. And in the other corner with Santos, you kind of have the same fundamental problems. He is less physically potent than Barlow, slightly better technically. Like the mechanics of his striking are largely fine, but yeah, his regional career is very much bullying people with his own physicality. And even though he's been fighting at 185, Barlow's been fighting at 170, I suspect Barlow will still have the physical edges. He's taller, he's longer, he seems like I said, a much more potent athlete. And that's why I got to pick him here. I'm gonna go by decision, because I don't actually trust Barlow to knock people out. Like, he has the power, but against people, like if you couldn't knock out Veretennikov or even really hurt him, and you couldn't hurt Sam Patterson, who was horrible. I really have questions about your your functionality as a knockout fighter going forward, particularly up a weight class. So goes the distance. Probably not a great fight, but I hope to be wrong in that regard, because there's something in Barlow, and it's just he came to MMA a bit late. Will he get the chance to shine in the way that I know it is possible for him to do? And I just in generally hope that we get to see it. But I don't know. Santos is pretty durable and like very uncreative, very like low output textbook kickboxer. And I don't trust that to win, but I do trust it to be probably very similar to the Veretennikov case. Probably even harder. Like I said, that Veretennikov fight was not good. And there is a solid argument that Barlow lost it. But yeah, we'll go decision. We'll go Barlow. But if you're betting on this one, I think Santos at underdog odds is actually the answer. I don't like Barlow at this like minus 300 crap. I sort of get it. I get it. We've seen him do cool things in the UFC, and we have not seen Santos do the same. But still, I know he lost to Ozzy Diaz, but like his only UFC fight. But like, come on, there's a lot of stock being put into Barlow that I do not think is appropriate. Back to another fight I don't have a lot to say about here. Drew Dober, prohibitive favorite at a minus 450 to minus 500, which at 36 years old and with his run of track record, I wouldn't be betting. However, Dober by knockout, it's only like plus 100 or minus 100 and something. I'm tempted. What this comes down to, Kyle Prepolak, who is the opponent here and is plus 340 to plus 360, is not a UFC level fighter. And I've met him. I've seen him fight at local shows. Like, I want to be clear. Like, he's a good dude as far as I can tell. But yeah, everything about him was like an MMA fighter at the UFC level's B game. He can strike, he can wrestle, he can grapple. Well-rounded, but like master of none. There's no A game there at all to speak of. And there's not a lot of like high-end physicality. It's there's a reason he washed out of the UFC once and got called back on short notice to fight Benoit Saint Denis. And as a result, he's back and he's getting fights. And there's a reason that he lost to a lot of ex-UFC guys outside of the UFC, like other guys who have also washed out and meeting up with the regional scene, and he still lost. There's just not really anything there. His hope would be that Dober just has fallen apart. And there's a chance of that because during this 3-fight losing skid, outside of the Moicano fight, Dober has not looked good. And even in the wins before that, he looked questionable. And we're definitely coming towards the day when Dober no longer has it. But I got to take Dober by TKO. It could go the differences because Preplex never been finished. And like I said, he is durable. But he's also never, very few people, to be clear, fight somebody who hits as hard as Drew Dober does. The Lantern Jaw is back and looking for a W to snap a 3-fight losing streak. Let's go. I'm not super excited for this one, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Like even I'll say this for the predictable fights on this card, the ones that like I basically am just like pigeonholed into picking somebody in. They're reasonably fun ideas for fights. Moving on down to Stephanie Luciano versus Ravenna Oliveira. I'd say Luciano's a little bit more of a favorite than I'd like to see at this point. Minus 300 to minus 330. And Oliveira is plus 225 to plus 240. I get it. I mean, at the end of the day, Ravenna Oliveira comes in as somebody who has beaten basically nobody. She fought really low-level competition up until this point. But, that kind of covers it, honestly. She just fought really not great girls. Like, her record has 7 winless fighters fought her over the course of 10 fights, which is a bit much. And then you look at it elsewhere, it's like 8-5 Simone De Silva. It's 1-1 Sherilyn Alameda, and she lost to a 0-0 Waleska Souza, and drew with an 0-1 Amanda Ferreira. She just doesn't. There's just nothing to suggest that she's good. Like, she's big enough at strawweight because she's fought mostly at bantamweight and flyweight, including her debut against Tainara Lisboa. So she's got good size. She's got reasonable athleticism. It's just you can't look at any of her opponents and go, wow, that fight really showed me something. There's not really anything there. I mean, the only meaningful fight that she has is that UFC debut against Lisboa, which she lost fairly comprehensively. The numbers were not too bad, honestly, mostly because the 4th round Lisboa ran out of gas. The 3rd round, I should say. Did I say 4th round? Third round. But like, she was clearly down 2 rounds to none. There weren't really any significant strikes that she landed. Lisboa was able to out-grapple and control her, which is not a great sign, given that Lisboa is not a good defensive grappler at the very least. She's got some decent offensive grappling, but the defense is not great. So credit to her for making it the distance and doing her thing, but like I can't pick her until I see her win, basically. Luciano's resume is not especially better and all that, but like beating Talita Alencar means something. Having a competitive fight with Sam Hughes means something. And her regional records, again, not amazing, but she beat Karina Aradine, who has done something. Admittedly, has done no winning since then, but still had built a little something. Same with Michelle Oliveira. So it's not great, but it's better. She also says, Michelle Oliveira is actually reasonably solid. She's a bit one-dimensional She's an armbar specialist, basically. She loves grabbing armbars and submissions in general. But it's something. It's better than anything that Oliveira's done. Again, I wouldn't be betting on this at minus 300 to minus 330, but she's the pick. Decision, she's not more offensively potent than Lisboa, so there you go. That is what I'm going to go with. Yeah, I mean, it's not a betting fight, but like, I don't know. Oliveira, it's just... I don't know what Oliveira is. It's a giant question mark in the sky. That Ravenna Oliveira has the size, probably has enough of the physicality to be a decent fighter, but we have not seen her win a fight against somebody who knows how to fight. And Luciano does know how to fight. So, Luciano decision. Moving on. Azamat Bakoyev versus Yusri Belagarwi. I'm going to struggle with that name. Belagari is a kickboxer of some fame. He's 6'5". He has 79-inch reach. He has the frame to be quite good. He has a good low kick game. He has good straight punches. He fouls, which means he's a natural for MMA to the point of getting points taken away with eye pokes that seem frankly fairly deliberate and without a lot of like remorse. So, he's perfect for MMA in that regard. But the big problem here is that he's not really clinch at first. He's not bad in clinch. He has separations. He has offense in the clinch. But the fact that he allows people into the clinch is a problem whenever he's going to be fighting wrestlers or guys with a grappling game, because I don't trust him on the ground really at all. That's kind of really about it on that one. He's up against Azamat Bakoyev, who has I don't want to say a bad chin, but he does tend to get rocked and have to recover a lot, which is obviously a big concern against somebody who is a decent hitter and obviously has some skills as a kickboxer. So there is a chance that he melts him very, very early, but assuming that Bakoyev gets past that point, I see him getting takedowns. I see him utilizing his own power because he is actually a pretty heavy puncher, both as a striker, or as a boxer, I should say, and down the ground. So, yeah, I got Bakoyev by ground and pound. He's a minus 300 to minus 333 favorite, plus 235 to plus 250 on Belagari. I would maybe put something on Belagari just as a kind of side, throwaway underdog bet, but I don't know. Let's put it this way. There are kickboxers that are Alexander Pereira. There's kickboxers that Israel Adesanya. And there are kickboxers who completely flunk out of the UFC. Belagari feels like that option. He really, really does. Could be wrong. But that is what he's feeling like. Anyways, then you have Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. I'm probably going to bet on Lisboa on this one because she's minus 105 to plus 110. You can get her at plus odds, which is surprising. Croden is minus 120 to minus 135. The issue here for Croden is the issue for Lisboa. Actually, it's very, very similar. They're both big girls. Like, they're both like legitimately sized bantamweights who have made a career out of fighting people who are not legitimately sized bantamweights. And every time they face somebody who is notable worthy or, I guess notable is the answer. They've lost. Croden, it's when she came up against Jacqueline Cavalcanti and when she came up against Evelyn Martins. Like, her best win is Katarina Lehner, who is doing power slap stuff. Enough said. And perpetual journeywoman Cornelia Holm. So there's not much there. And then on Lisboa's side, there's Jessica Rose Clark, which is probably the best win either of them have. But Jessica Rose Clark is also very prone to giving up her neck and got rear naked choked. So what are you going to do? And the aforementioned Ravenna Oliveira, who is, really hasn't been in like a real fight. Now, her losses are all to perfectly fine fighters. Lena Santos, Lorani Santos, and of course Norma Dumas. These are not problems. They're not concerning. The only thing concerning about the Santos loss is not that she lost to Santos, and not even the manner she lost to Santos in, but the fact that I'm not convinced that she had any idea of what she was doing on the ground when she's in a bad position. She can grapple from top. She can grapple from dominant positions. But from bottom, I don't know. So it really just comes down to who can overpower who in the clinch, probably. And I'm going to go with Lisboa. She just feels like the more fluid, the more dynamic, the slightly cleaner tactical striker and like just athlete in general. But yeah, it's a coin flip, and the odds are slated that way for a reason. These are two women who have yet to really show that when facing size and strength parity, that they really have answers for the questions that the other opponent is going to ask. So that's that. I would say it goes to decision either way, though. So Lisboa by decision. Anyways, that's the card. It's not a bad card. It, like I said, the Jourdain versus Jourdain versus Davey Grant fight, that has me all kinds of tickled and fun. And Park versus Silva should be fun. I'm looking forward to Dober versus Peprolak. I'm looking forward to Bakoya versus Belligari. Either way it goes, honestly. I'm looking forward to Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frivola. I'm looking forward to Cody Gibson versus Richie Lang. I'm looking forward to Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott, although I will probably also want to scrape my eyes out when I see the decisions being made, and the main event has me interested. So the only thing that I'm really not digging is Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. I would like to see Jasmine do well, and I'm afraid that she will not, and Manon Fiorot's winning is kind of dull. And then not super looking forward to Vera versus Sahabi, but like it's fine. And is there anything else I'm just not? Barlow Santos does have that not good feel to it. And there is a very crappy version of the Croden versus Lisboa fight. But what are you going to do? The matchups all largely make sense. There's none that I'm scratching my head with. What are we trying to do here? Everything has a clear goal, and the main event has title implications. So what are you going to do? And the co-main event has ranking implications. So does Vera versus Sahabi. So does Fiora versus Jasudavicius. So there's plenty of like important fights on this card ready to go. And there's some action fights that should be like really, really fun. So I'm not going to complain about it too much. I'm just saying there are a couple of fights that could be bad. Anyways, check out the links down below for my social medias, video gaming stuff, and also my MMA Discord server, where you can talk with people who listen to the podcast and are generally nerdy, hardcore MMA fans. And on top of that, there's the fight simulator that is there. And man, I really got to get around to running a couple of fight simulators again. In fact, I'm going to do that tomorrow. So everybody who's listening to this and has a fighter in the sim, get ready. Your fighter may not be in action because, you know, it's a career mode and some of you have injuries, some of you are off, and maybe not everyone get hyped. Maybe wait to get hyped. Have a good day. I'll see you after the fights, and enjoy yourselves.